It's all about, it's all about, it's all about InViewTV. It's all about passion, it's all about change. It's all inclusive every day of the week. When the world comes together, united as one, sharing stories through the eyes of InViewTV. Through the eyes of, through the eyes of, through the eyes of InViewTV.
Well, how are you? How have you been? I'm William Brougham in Sydney, and welcome to a second season of At Home on InViewTV. What have I been up to? I've been having a welcome break. I went to Jervis Bay, stunning white sand, beautiful blue skies, and warmer weather. And of course, last week, I went to the Royal National Park just outside Sydney. But you know what? The best thing is, it's great to be back with you on At Home on InViewTV every Wednesday at 7 p.m. And we'll be interviewing people from the world of entertainment, including music and theatre, as well as people from sport and business, and maybe, dare I say, even politics. But tonight, for our first show, there's nobody, well, practically nobody, I'd rather interview than one of my favourite Sydney-based performance artists and DJs, Dyan Tai. Let's find out a bit more about him.
Forget the day we met and the dollars we have spent when we're on the streets with common people. The way we dress is fraud and illegal. He wants my love and she wants my heart right now, so everybody can see without a doubt. Let them play their part. I see the stars singing, dancing flames. We're both lovers, we both deserve a place. We're all the people we were born to be. Can you feel my bass? It goes boom, 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 boom. Forever, surrender, surrender all faith. Every time I feel your ways, so leave me unchecked. So we're abandoned forever to roam the face. Can't hold back, so you say what you wanna say. Hide my feelings, I shed a tear along the way. Can't deny when I love you this way. Can't deny what I'm feeling this way. Keep going back to the way we play the game. Keep going. Oh, I came to love you, and I wanna touch you tonight. I came to make love all night. Me and you will be inexplicable. I love you is undeniable. Communication is near impossible. Should I give you a means? Then you'll find I'm irresistible. I want your ugly, I want your disease. I want your everything as long as it's free. I want your love, 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 love. I want your love. I want your drama, the touch of your hand. I want your letter, start a kiss in the sand. I want your love, 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 love. I want your love.
Wow, so catchy, those videos, those songs, I love them. Performance artist and DJ Dyan Tai, I adore you and your music. How are you doing? Welcome to our InViewTV.
Hey, thanks for having me. Thank you.
I've been wanting you on the show for so long, and you've really made not only my week, but my month to have somebody as talented and as entertaining as yourself. What I want to know is, where did your love of music come from?
I think I started playing the piano when I was like 6 or 7, like a lot of, Asian kids. You learn how to play the piano. So my first instrument was actually, I was classically trained in piano, and then I used to play the violin as well, but and I sort of thought, I'm just really bored of this. I love classical music; it's good foundation for music. But then I was like, I wanted to be a pop star. So, but it all started, with learning classical music and learning how to play the piano.
It's quite interesting because quite a lot of pop stars started off playing classical music or were classically trained. Now, your trademark instrument is the guitar. Tell us about that.
I actually made that guitar. I spray painted it and then blinked it up. So it's because I wanted to be able to move around more and not be stuck behind the keys. Even though, there'll be moments where I would like to have the grand piano when I perform, but I think because I produce and make pop music, I just thought the guitar would be a good would complement my performances.
Now, before the interview, we saw some of your videos, and I love the work, not that only goes into your music, but also the videos. But before we talk about those videos and their intricacies and the art form that they clearly are, let's watch and listen to one of your great songs, one of my favorites, Smoothie.
Oh, gosh.
I love
All
it.
right.
Give me something. You know I like it, babe, when you give me something. Inspires me to believe and speak of grammar. To be or not to be, I'm a lover haters. Anyone should hold me, yeah. You know I like it when you play with my mind. You know I like it when you're up here so fine tonight. You know I like it when you're wasting your time with me. Alright tonight, 'cause I like it smooth. I like it smooth. I like it smooth. I like it, but to be with me, gotta be, let it be. I'm stuck that smoothie. Let's slurp that smoothie. Let's slurp that smoothie. Touch my body, my waist. Why don't we let everybody say? Touch my body, my waist. Why don't we let everybody say? Touch my body, my waist. Why don't we let everybody say? My neck, my back. Hold my kittens when I get to your back. Give me something. You know I like it, babe, when you give me something. Speed it up, speed it up, speed it up, ayy. Ooh, if you got swagger like Beyonce, slide right, then a chance to say what to say, what to say. Do you say, do you say? Don't know what to say. Now that we're naked, 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 rules and inhibitions are forgotten. Get with me, get with me, get with me, get with me, but to get with me. You know I like it when you play with my mind. You know I like it when you're up here so fine tonight. You know I like it when you're wasting my time tonight, tonight. Alright, 'cause I like it smooth. I like it smooth. I like it smooth. I like it, but to be with me, gotta be, let it be. I like it smooth. I like it
Wow, Dyan Tai and
Hey.
Smoothie. I love that song. Of course, to all our viewers, you're watching at home on InViewTV. We're going out on Facebook, YouTube, and OVO Play. Dyan, tell me the idea behind Smoothie. How did you come up with that song?
I feel like you've got a really bad angle of me because I'm just like sitting in my living
You,
room
well,
wearing the
you look
same jacket
amazing.
and like
Look at me in
really
my
shiny
shirt.
forehead.
Oh, you look as
um,
amazing as ever.
oh, thank you. With Smoothie, that was actually my last release, and actually gearing up and going to be working on new music. And that was, I think it was 2.5 years ago when I released Smoothie. At that time, I felt like there was a lot of well, for me, like, it's dating as a queer Asian person in Sydney. My experience is very different compared to a lot of people. So that song is really written about like being comfortable with my hairless Asian twink body at the time, if I can still consider myself as a twink. I don't know. So the song is really written about like, it's fun, it's cool if you like it smooth, but yeah, if you like it smooth, then you're gonna slurp my smoothie.
What inspires? What inspires your music, Dyan?
So these days, I did take 2.5 years away from songwriting to just really think about what I want and to really have a think about what type of art I want to use and share with the world. And I think music now, as I heard this podcast the other day, and they spoke about your music and your gifts as spiritual responsibilities. And I was like, oh my god, I never thought of it like that. So for me, like these days, I try to think of what message I want to convey, and my journey finding liberation and freedom as a queer Asian artist in conservative Malaysia, moving to Australia here. So I know Smoothie is probably not a reflection of that. But just growing up in the last couple of years, I want to make something that is meaningful.
Now,
Yeah.
you mentioned Malaysia, and you mentioned that it can be quite conservative. You're quite flamboyant and colourful and vibrant. What brought you to Australia?
At that time when I moved here 10 years ago, I moved here 10 years ago, I was actually, I like a lot of Asian kids, like, you have to study and do well in school and like excel, in high school or whatever. And I was lucky enough to get a scholarship to study in Australia. So I went to UNSW. I actually did a science degree, very different to my creative side, I know. But I was lucky enough. I worked really hard because I wanted to be here. In a way, I wanted to leave because I knew that as an artist, I wouldn't be able to be true to myself if I continued living in Malaysia, out of fear, because of the safety, my personal safety, and my loved ones, my family. And the other thing is also about, for me, I also wanted to leave the environment and come out and develop and find my full potential in Australia. So, and yeah, so that's why I came here.
Now, in the past, you've written and spoken about being a queer person of colour, and you've done a lot to promote queer and trans people of colour. Can you tell me what you've done?
I feel like I haven't done enough. I didn't think I've done that much, to be honest. I do what I can in my capacity, but there is still so much we can all do. There's still so much I can do, and sometimes I feel like it's not enough. But what I've done in my capacity is I created, well, first and foremost, being alive and being visible I think to a lot of people, it's enough to live your truth and to be seen is first and foremost the most important thing as a queer, as a trans. If you're a trans person of color, if you're a queer person of color from culturally, linguistically diverse background, I think being alive, being seen is already such an accomplishment because it's a tough world. And but for me, in my capacity, I've created a night called Worship, and we had 3 events. So it's about a year ago, I created this party called Worship. It's for queer artists, for trans artists, and especially from those who identify as performers of different cultural backgrounds to share their cultural practices, rites, and rituals in a modern interpretation through performance art, through drag, through dance, through music. So that is what I've done. And I hopefully post-COVID, we can continue to have parties like that, right?
I was at Worship this year and it was a fantastic night. There was so much diversity. Do you feel yourself, as a very talented person of colour, that you've been accepted not only by the music scene, but also by the LGBTIQ scene?
Do I feel like I've been accepted, or is
Yeah, do
that
you
the
feel that
question?
you've been
Sorry.
embraced? Yes, do you feel you've been embraced? Do you feel you've been welcomed?
Um, We're getting in a lot of
It's a
trouble
tough
for
question.
answering this question. I
I'm
feel like I've been
sorry.
embraced by some. It's okay. I feel like I've been embraced by some people. I haven't been embraced. Some people will love you, some people won't.
Mm.
But I do think though that where we are now compared to like where we were, like there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. But I do feel like in the last couple of years, thanks to we're talking about the queer scene specifically, yeah.
Yes.
Let's talk about all these little parties popping up outside, because in Sydney, Oxford Street used to be like the place. Well, it still is. It's a very important role in the Sydney gay scene, but a lot of these little parties that started to appear, and and a lot of them, I feel like are more inclusive, and in terms of the lineup. So I do feel like as a performer in the last couple of years, I do feel like there's more love, and people are now more, thanks to some of the recent conversations that we've had, people are more willing to embrace me as a performer. In the past, as an artist, though, as a singer, I have had comments like, Australia's not ready for a gay Asian pop star. I've had comments like,
What?
people, yeah, I've had someone say that to me, and this person,
Awful.
worked in radio. And then I also had people like in bands, back when I was in bands. This is like 10 years ago when I first moved here, and they're straight dudes, not very comfortable with a lead like me, but I feel like these days things are changing, but there's still a lot of work that needs to be done, and we're having different conversation these days to back in, I don't know, back when I used to receive more of these comments. Maybe people are more subtle about it. I don't know.
I mean, it's crucial that us as a whole community, that we are embracing and we are inclusive, and that's got to happen. But what I'm also curious to know is about your DJing. How did you become a DJ?
DJing, look, first and foremost, I'm a singer, I'm a performer, I'm a performance artist first. DJing is something that it was an easy transition for me. Because I've been trained classically, and so yeah, so I have to thank my my music teachers for like, because I really really hated music theory, but they made sure that it's a really nerdy thing for me, music theory. Can't we just play everything according to our feelings? And no, we have to learn all these theory. So it was easy for me to start DJing. To it wasn't hard for me. And the type of music that I play, I do a lot of 90s, early 2000s R&B and pop. So
Wow.
I didn't do the the drum and bass. Yeah, so for me, it's always like having stuff that people can sing along to and have a good time.
When you sing and DJ, where are your favorite venues?
Oh my God, I have to say that I didn't have one favorite venue, but I do find myself drawn to places that have some sort of live or a performer or a live drag artist. So I like to see things, and I do feel like I was reading an article about the future of the Sydney gay scene, and one of my absolute favorites, and I think of him as a mentor, is Johnny Seymour from the DJ duo Stereogamous. And I remember him saying in the interview that the future he believes is in art base, or it will be led by performance art. I do feel like when I do go out, I like to see people perform and not the standard type of drag. I want to be inspired, and I want to feel safe. I do want to feel like it's an inclusive space, not just like gay men or gay white men. There are a lot of venues, but I feel like I'm more drawn to, a place that it's safe and it's for the community. So to answer your question, I love the Red Rattler. I love the Bearded Tit. It's one of my favorite places in the world. Bearded Tit, Red Rattler. Even I do love Secret Garden in Enmore. And the Imperial is fantastic as well. To give a big shout out to etc., one of the drag queens there, and they've done such an amazing job in creating diversity at the venue.
Dyan, before we go to your final video, how does it feel to have had your music shown on MTV Australia and played on Triple J? It's quite an achievement.
It's good to be able to talk about that, but I don't know if anyone actually listened or heard it. I don't know. I don't know if I'm, yeah. You always wonder, but it's great to be able to say that, and I'm happy to have had that type of success. But yeah, hopefully, I can continue creating conversations with my music. That's more important than any playlist or any being featured on MTV. Is what inspires people for me. That's the most important these days.
Even better than MTV and Triple J is the fact that you wrote one of my top 10 favorite songs. It takes a lot for me to fall in love with a song, particularly when I hear it the first time. And we're going to hear that song. Before we talk about it, let's hear it. Here is Dyan Tai, and I love this song, Up in the Air.
Wow.
You and I need a miracle. What we had was magical. Last night we said let's get physical. Someone like you were compatible. Cause when you want it, you've got it. Can't confide in me. That's when you know it. You flaunt it. Gotta trust in me. Although I need you, no need to. There's no need to say sweet. But sweet. When it comes down to it, it's sort up in the air tonight. It got me wondering why, when we could have everything right. I know I caught it, slow. Looking at you, wondering if you know. You look pretty fly in your pretty clothes. Oh, but when you want it, you have it. You do it to me. That's when you know it and show it. Put your trust in me, baby. I need you. You need to. There's no words to say. Sway, but sway. When it comes down to it, it's sort up in the air tonight. It got me wondering why when we could have everything right. I know I caught it. Next thing you know it. Oh, when it comes down to it, it's sort up in the air tonight. All up in the air tonight. Oh, yeah. All up in the air tonight. All up tonight, tonight, tonight. All up in the air tonight. All up in the air. It's all up in the air. When it comes down to it, it's all up in the air tonight. It got me wondering why when we could have everything right. I know I caught it. Oh, next thing you know it. Yes, when it came down to it, it's all up in the air tonight. All up in the air tonight. Hey. All up in the air tonight. Tonight, tonight. All up tonight. In the air tonight. All up in the air tonight.
My goodness, that song
Yay.
never gets old. Every time I hear it, I love it even more. Can you tell us, Dyan, can you tell us briefly what that song was about? What inspired it?
Oh, so that song, Up in the Air, was written about my love life at the time it was written. Um, the lyrics is really about like, because they talk to a lot of people on Tinder or whatever, and like, but when it comes down to a meeting, like it doesn't always happen. So all that chat leads to nothing, and so when it comes down to it, it's all up in the air tonight. So we don't know what's gonna happen, and like it might not happen, might not meet.
I think it's a song that so many people can, appreciate and understand. I think most of us at some point have been there, not quite sure what's going on and trying to read the other person's mind. Dyan, what are you working on now?
I'm actually working on a new project, a new single. It's been 2.5, almost 3 years now, because I wanted to really find myself as an artist. So a lot of the stuff that you played tonight, I feel like they're from my past life, and so these days my sound is a bit different. So I'm working on a track, and there will be a music video for it as well, and the performance an extension of the art-based video will be performed as part of Mardi Gras next year with a performance space, which I'm one of the artists doing the queer development program. So looking forward to sharing
Fantastic.
that with everyone.
Well, congratulations. What advice would you give to budding musicians and singers and songwriters?
I always don't feel like I'm the right person to give advice to anyone, because I still like need a lot of advice from people. But why don't we say the advice I would give myself now is every year, every gig you do is a learning process. So I'm still learning, but what I would tell myself, 2 or 3 years ago is is to really be unapologetically proud of who you are. Do not try to like change to fit in, because I find that, I think 2016 is the year that I came back and I was like, you know what, I am who I am. If people are just going to say like the whole like you know, you're gay or you're Asian thing, or if that's what people are going to remember, I'm not going to let that be a disadvantage. I'm going to use that to my advantage and how to exaggerate that and use that as part of what people will remember and my brand. So a lot of things, it just so happened it went that way, that direction. It wasn't done on purpose, but like I feel like in doing so, I really found myself, and yeah, I could stay true to where I come from and my story.
What I love about you, Dean, is you're not just simply a singer, you're not simply a record producer, songwriter, but you've also got the flamboyance and vibrance with your costumes and all of that. You're like a whole package. How did all the costumes come about?
For me, like I've always said, there are a lot of fantastic singers, um, you know, but I think I think I can sing, but I've never considered myself to be the best singer in the world. But I do think of myself more as a performer. And I don't want to just stand there and sing every time I perform. I think of the performance and what am I trying to convey, what type of feeling am I trying to create. And usually the costumes are just part of the performance. But sometimes I do, you know, feel like, hey, I've be quite extra and like just feel like dressing up, right? Don't we
And
all?
well, I know I love dressing up. Look at me in my formal t-shirt from Gap. I'm the height of fashion. I've got to ask you before we go, how can we find out more about your amazing work?
I would love it if you could follow me. Follow me on Instagram. It's Dyan_Tai, DYAN_Tai. I do have some new stuff planning to release them towards the end of the year. And if you happen to be out or you want to go out this weekend, I'm actually performing at the Imperial Hotel. I'm doing, for the first time, I've produced a Kylie Showgirl inspired show.
Wow.
So yeah, that'll be fun. Come along and come and hang out this Saturday.
One of our
Yeah.
presenters is a huge Kylie fan, Michael Elbasha, who you probably know. I know if he's
Ah,
watching, he'll be right there. But Dyan Tai,
yeah.
you inspire. I love your music. But above all, thank you so much for being a guest here on At Home on InViewTV. Will you return one day when you've got new material?
Absolutely.
I'd love to have you back.
How can I
Thank you
say
so
no?
much, Dyan. I'm
Thank
so
you. Thank you
glad
for
I
having
finally said
me.
thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure. Hopefully you'll be back soon. Thanks so much, Dyan Tai.
Yeah.
Wow, to be able to finally interview Dyan Tai here on At Home on InViewTV has been an absolute joy and a pleasure. One of my favourite performance artists and DJs. Well, before we go, I want to thank my executive producer, Bruce Mott, for helping make this show happen. And of course, last but not least, you, the viewers. Without you, we wouldn't have a show, and you are our greatest supporters. We're back next Wednesday here on Facebook, YouTube, and OvoPlay with At Home on InViewTV at 7 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Join us then. Have a great week and an even better weekend. Toodle pip. Bye.